Have you ever felt like life moves the foundations beneath you and you have no idea how you're going to make it through? Yeah, I felt like that. And this is what I did. Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Alert Diaries with Tanya E. I'm wondering if you have ever had the foundations of your life just sort of shift beneath you and you wonder what's going to happen. When I was going through the aftermath of my divorce, that happened to me and I had to rediscover Tanya because I lost me in those elements. And when you lose pieces of who you are, the foundation of your being seems like it's truly gone. I want you to know that there is a way for you to get past that and move beyond those moments. And it's a simple process. It's just not that easy. You see, the thing that we often forget is that you were birthed into the earth with gifts inside of your soul. There's something that's already in you. The world can't take it away. Even if it tries to pull away the pillars of what's holding you up, the foundation of your existence can still be rebuilt. We don't often think about rebuilding what's great, and we often don't consider how much the foundations of our life have gotten shaken up and possibly removed. So if you find yourself in that position, here are the pillars that life taught me I needed to rebuild. And you can use this as a simple thought process by using the word life to help you remember. L, love. Love is a foundation that we need to make certain that stays within our being. And in a world that often makes us feel like love is fleeting, love is hard to find, and you got to do all these things in order to get it. The conditional nature that we often find ourselves in, that's not how love was supposed to be. Love was never designed to function in that capacity. And the thing that I struggled with is redefining love for me. I had to go back to the basic. Pick the basic foundation that I grew up with, understanding what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. Now, when I first heard that, that made no sense to me. How can that be love? Because you see, when we are watching the TV and reading our books, it doesn't give us that as a definition of love. But when I had to reset that pillar, put love back as a foundation in my existence, I needed more clarity about the deepness of what it truly was. Because in my mind's eye, it's only 4 letters. It can't be that deep. How much can it truly be? But because we know when we don't feel it, we recognize when we feel its absence. But not a lot of us take the time to truly go and define it or get clarity of the definition for it. So when I went through my discovery of the definition of love and discovered the very first thing that I had to walk through in understanding love is being patient. Now, I was not the type of chick that was patient for anything. It took me a minute standing in the line, waiting for the girl at the grocery store to check me out. It took forever in my mind's eye, and I struggled with that. Here's the thing that I also learned about redefining elements. Whenever you're building a foundation, rebuilding something takes a lot more work than putting it in place to begin with. You see, if you have the foundation stable to begin with, then you can sort of ease your way around it. But if you got to rebuild it, first you got to clear away the rubble. So I had to clear away in my mind's eye what I thought love meant. So that meant putting away the fairy tale thoughts about love and realizing that love meant work. So I had to dig out those elements and start going to work on what I truly had to discover. And when you got to work on rebuilding, resetting, restructuring, redoing, that takes patience. And patience is the thing that I discovered. You cannot be kind to someone unless you're patient with them, because people, people naturally test you. They will test the foundation of your being, which leads us to the other part about rebuilding the foundation of life. I, and the word life, stands for integrity. It is your integrity that will cause you to really look out for somebody else's well-being. It is integrity that will allow you to not be envious, not puff yourself up. Integrity looks out for your well-being, and it gives you an honest element of who you are and how you function. And integrity, because integrity does what it says. It will not dishonor you. And when I went through and I looked at the foundation of that definition of love, it told me that love is not envious, it does not boast, it is not proud, and it does not dishonor others. And that's something. When you're walking through that definition of love, that requires you to start using each piece as a stepping stone. And it's going to take time because it took me 3 years to learn just to get the foundation of patience. And as I walk through getting just the element of patience, putting that pillar together so I can shore up love in my world, I found that the second pillar was being built. You see, I always thought that integrity was simply doing the right thing when nobody else is looking. Just doing it because you know it's the right thing to do. Nobody has to ask you for it. You just do it. But that is just one part of it. You see, to have a life where you are functioning from integrity, it requires your words, your actions, and your beliefs. What you believe is revealed in your words, and your words will be a catalyst to the actions that you take. And if you are living a life that is operating on integrity, it will help you press through loving somebody. But takes us all the way back to the first pillar. But love is patient. Love is kind. You will operate in being patient with someone, even though they irk your nerves. This takes us to the third pillar of life, faith. Faith is the third foundation that you have to build in order for your life to start being stable again. And it takes faith to operate with integrity with someone that did you wrong. Because when life comes to throw blows at you, it shakes your foundation. It makes you feel some type of way. And you have a tendency to lose who you are at the core of your being. Have you ever lost yourself in different elements of life? Yeah, I have. Because in the aftermath of my divorce, I lost me. I lost the pieces of Tanya that I thought would help keep me whole. I lost the pieces of Tanya that operated from a place that was more considerate, more kind. I lost some of my kindness thinking that I had to look out for me. Because if I kept doing everything else for everybody else, no one was looking out for me. So I had to step in and do it for myself. No, 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 no. When you're rebuilding the foundations that got broken, you will recognize that you just have faith to function in the capacity that you know to be true. Everything else will be okay. Because when you start rebuilding these foundations of life, love, integrity, and faith, it will give you naturally the fourth pillar. I was definitely in the middle of the 3 C's. There comes a time when you will have to decide if you need clarification, connection, or closure about a person to determine how to move forward in the relationship. Some relationships need connecting. Some relationships need clarifying. You will need to take the time to determine what the relationship should be in order for it to be beneficial for both of you. I took the time to write down some things that I think will support you. The free chapter is available for you in the link below. Empathy. Now, that fourth pillar of empathy is often misunderstood because the way that I was raised with the understanding of empathy is that it's the ability for you to sort of step in the shoes of somebody else. Empathy gives you the thought process to step in and support. Now, I know when you hear empathy and sympathy, they sound so similar. People think that they're the same, but they are not. You see, when you have sympathy for somebody, you're just really glad that you're not going through. You feel for them. That's when you be like, I pray for you and you never pray for them. Oh, I feel so bad for them, but you do nothing to help them. You see what empathy does? Empathy allows you to step in because you know what that feels like. People that are empathetic of others have often walked in someone's shoes. And if you haven't walked in the exact shoe size, you have a pair that's sort of similar. So you recognize, hey, I can't really walk you through all of the support that you need, but I can do this part. And you step in and you give them that support. You help hold up their arms because you know that they still have to lift them on their own, but you'll hold them up for them while they get themselves back together. I'm grateful for the individuals in my world that were empathetic because I really find out, and you will often find out when you go through the chaos of your life and the foundation that you have gets a little shaky as well. You see, when my foundation was shook and life started throwing rocks at me and it crumbled beyond my ability, I felt to recover from. It was then that I found out who my true friends were because I had several that I thought would walk with me through the storm, just give me sympathy because they left me. And to this day, nearly 20 years later, they have not even bothered to check on me. I'm still waiting for that. I'm going to call you. Yeah. But I did have a few. I had a few that were empathetic. They had not walked through the capacity of what I was experiencing in my world with all of the things that life had come to shake the foundation, but they walked with me. I had a good girlfriend of mine. She came over, sat with me, helped me put a plan back together. Now, you see, as an individual that is naturally gifted for strategy, I forgot. I forgot that element about my being. And when you have life come through things that you will forget elements of your being as well. You see, you were birthed into the earth with a gift that no one can really steal from you, no one can shake from you, and life can't if you don't let it. Now, you may need to rebuild the foundation that life has with love, integrity, faith, and empathy. But your gifting, or when you remember who you are at the core of your being, you will rebuild, you will reset, you will be restored. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else I've shared, I want you to remember that life may give you a shaking in your foundation, but you get the foundational elements restored with love, integrity, faith, and empathy. And here's the next level note for you. There are moments in your life that you will have to go back to a foundational element. For me, my foundational element told me that faith is the evidence of things unseen. And I had to walk in that pillar connected to the pillar of love, which gave me the element of the pillar of integrity, which put me back into a place of empathy. So my life was being restored with the faith of my basic foundation. And when I went back to look at that basic foundation, I discovered that whenever there was somebody that had to rebuild the pillars of their life that got broken, it was broken because there was an altar to God that was broken. And they started rebuilding by rebuilding the altar. I heard someone say that the only difference between your house and church is the fact that the church has an altar in it. So why does the church have an altar in it? The church has an altar because an altar is where you place the sacrifices to God. And I had to reestablish my relationship with Jesus. And he came seeking me first when he picked me up off the bathroom floor of that 2-bedroom apartment. And it was in that discovery that I recognized that the altar was built for sacrifice because you're already going to sacrifice something. If you're going to already sacrifice elements of yourself, sacrifice it on the altar that God establishes and rebuild that. Because the cost that you're going to pay, the world will take the cost of your sacrifice, but they will not restore you. But when you put your sacrifice on the altar of God and let him restore you, let him reset you, let him reestablish the foundations that got ripped apart and torn, that sacrifice, the cost that you made, God will bless. Because as I was reestablishing my foundation for life, and Jesus picked me up and saw the cost that I had paid in that sacrifice, I just rebuilt my altar with him. It was there that I got out of that 2-bedroom apartment. I got that job. Those of you that know my story know that this was a major blessing for me. And that blessing, what God says is that he will bless you in the earth and he will bless you beyond. All you have to do is choose to rebuild the altars of life to him, and he will help you Make certain that your foundation stays stable when the world and life comes to try to break down the foundations once again. And so for today, if anything that I've said resonates with you, then it's time to reset. So like, comment, and share this with others so that they can get this insight poured into them. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to go to my website, tanyaehood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. And if you are on YouTube, you can join me live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we can continue the conversation or we can start a new one. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.